Good evening, freedom fighters and Alberta patriots. It's an honor to be here again tonight and to be able to discuss a few critical issues that are coming before us and what we're going to deal with this fall. But the two things that I kind of want to go around tonight is number one, the municipal elections this fall, and number two is this idea that's becoming more and more prevalent about vaccine passports. They want to give them a lot of different names and cover them up, but they are what they are. But we've had a breakdown of our constitution this last 18 months. The COVID mandates, the restrictions, the heavy-handed enforcements, and the intimidation by police, bylaw officers, and AHS. It has just been incredible. We've seen people put in jail. We've seen people's businesses shut down, chained up. And to me, this is a problem. It's a big problem. But the most important thing to realize is that this is a political problem. This is created by politicians. It's being promoted by politicians. And the question is what can we do about it? And many of you have gone to rallies. You've maybe participated in convoys. You've written letters. You've made phone calls. You've talked to the media. But what has that really gotten us? Not a lot in actual terms of people's freedoms or businesses being able to be opened. They've been very small wins at best, and yet our premier and his enforcement crews have really doubled down on those individuals who've tried to stand for their freedoms and to protect their businesses and keep their businesses alive. And it's just overwhelming to too many businesses on what's actually happening to them. But let's take a different view and see what would have happened if we actually had municipal bodies that was saying no. To my understanding, and I've never been up there, but I was going to travel twice up there, but Lacrete basically sent the AHS officials out of town and told them to take a hike, and was the most open place in the province. And the question is this something that we can and should be doing in our local communities? But what if the police were actually instructed by the mayors and council to say, you know what, we're not going to be handing out tickets. We're not going to be closing down businesses. Your job is to serve and protect people, not to be compliance officers that's doing the bidding of a premier or a prime minister. And so we need to ask, is that a possibility? What if the communities actually rallied behind our businesses to support them and to protect them, and actually created safe havens in rural Alberta? I realize that our two big cities with our two mayors have been very pro-lockdown, and again, there's this total disconnect from the people. But they basically caved across the province and did not take a strong stand. They didn't protect our businesses. They didn't worry about the destruction that was happening to people in their lives, families that were being torn apart, the mental illness, the drug abuse that has gone through the roof. Deaths by overdoses are up to our understandings, bankruptcies, financial ruin, delayed cancer treatment. I read one article where there's been 10,000 surgeries that were postponed and delayed or rolled back in this last year. And again, we all know that our healthcare system, there's already terrible wait times to receive these things. But these are all ongoing problems that continue. And with the reaction that our province has taken to COVID and put that front and center and everything else to the side, it has been disheartening to say the least. And so to me, it's time that we become proactive. We have the municipal elections coming up this October, and this is where we can take control of our province back, at least in rural Alberta. And I believe in the cities as well, that if our members get active, that we can and we will make a difference. But if we were to fire every local authority that is for lockdown and not for protecting our rights, that would really change the situation. We need to vet and ask questions for every person who's running for county council, for council on towns, for the mayors, and ask them, where do you stand on these lockdowns? Are you going to protect Albertans in the future? And we just really need to check them out. But The real thing is on what we can do here is use the Wild Rose Nation, you members, and start creating and building our CAs at a accelerated level here, realizing that there's an election this October. And when you actually look at the elections, you'd be surprised in most towns and communities and municipalities how few votes it takes to win. And I'm going to give you a few stats here, and we'll go over them. But if we were to build our CAs up and to have a strong membership there, that would be like having a municipal party that's running. And with 500 members in a CA, many rural areas, that would win the vote. But let's just go over a few numbers out of a few towns that we've just taken arbitrarily here. But the first one here is a town with 6,000 people in it. The mayor only got 515 votes, and his victory was only 72 votes. All it would have taken was a couple hundred people to get involved, and this would have changed. Town councilors, they averaged 705 votes. The people that were losing, 408 votes. So 300 votes split. Let's go to towns down to 3,000. The mayor only had 559 votes, only won by 327 votes. Many of the councillors were actually acclaimed. And let's take a look at a bigger town, 10,000 people. The mayor was acclaimed there, no competition at all. We have many town councillors that only average 890 votes. And those that were losing, just 560 votes. So, 200 or 300 people would make a huge difference in these elections, and it's very doable. But the question is are we going to get to work and realize that the best and safest place to take over government is the local government first? I've always been an advocate to say that the government that serves the people, everything that's possible should be done at the closest level possible. And that comes to our policing and our healthcare, and for the town to decide that, we don't have a problem here with COVID. It's just been like every other year, and we're not going to shut down our businesses and stand behind those businesses. But anyways, it's really important that I feel that we as Wild Rosers engage and realize that this is the first step to take back our freedoms and to actually have a opportunity going into the future. But this plan will work. The question is, will we work? And I really believe that we will benefit by putting in the effort. If we work hard and get 500 members here in the next 2 or 3 months in each of these constituency associations, there's going to be some good people in there that you'll be able to nominate to run in these municipal elections, which is just critical. But there's another important point in taking over our council and the mayors and the reeves. And the reason for doing that is because under the Police Act here in Alberta, towns with 5,000 and more can actually hire and have their own police force. They can hire a chief of police, they can hire their policemen, they can get a civilian board to oversee those police and give direction to them. And this is critical, in my opinion, for our future. And what's interesting for rural communities that have less than 5,000, they can actually set up a regional police, and 3 or 4 small towns can come together. And we already do this in many municipalities, is where they share a peace officer that floats back and forth between the different communities. But these are all doable things. And the important thing is by doing that, we can take control of our future, and we don't have to have Ottawa or Alberta, the premier, telling what we can and can't do. The small towns can stand up. And if you remember, we were actually in the reverse situation last spring where Nenshi was demanding the province do something. And if they weren't going to do something, he was going to do something. Well, that's a two-way street, and we can demand that the province stand down and let our people actually carry on their lives and their livelihood. But it's going to be a challenge. And the question is how do we get people active on this? And what do we do to reach out and build our CAs? I'm very excited that here in a little over a week, the so-called ban is going to be shut down and we can actually start having open town halls and advertise. So please go to our website, wildrose.party or paulhinman.com, and start sending in requests, and we'll try and get some good tours that make sense on where we can go through and start having open town hall meetings to meet people, to sell memberships, to raise some money, and to be able to build a war chest that we can help people in these campaigns that are coming. But it's just so critical that we make the effort to win the municipal elections this fall. But with that, it crosses over into the other thing that I really want to talk about, and this is these vaccine passports. I can't believe, that we're here, and it's interesting how the politicians all deny right at the start. Oh, we're not going to have passports. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that, and it's just a matter of a few months and time, and here we are with all kinds of programs and things coming forward, and our prime minister, starting an app that's going to be able to track people and say that, what, if you're vaccinated, you can travel and leave the country. And I don't know. I want to bring up a scenario here and talk a little bit about it. But David, if you want to put up that first part here about the theater on Broadway. But they temporarily disallowed those who had received the AstraZeneca vaccine because they said that it wasn't FAA approved, and they told patrons that they weren't able to come in, and that this is a real problem. But let's just jump to the next one there, David, if we could. But Gary Bowman, a professor of bioethics and global health at the University of Toronto, said Springsteen on Broadway incident is a classic example of what vaccine passports do. They're divisive, they're bureaucratic, and they often are not evidence-based. And I want to go back and say here that the whole problem hasn't been evidence-based. It's just been astounding to me what's gone on, and when you watch some of the testimony that was being delivered to the U.S. Senate and the committees down there, how they just refuse to listen or to look for any solutions other than this so-called vaccine. And the censorship, and people have been asking me about Bill C-10. I can't believe that we're living in a country that would even consider passing it, let alone doing it at 1:30 in the morning. But this is a situation that we're in, and it's not about following our Constitution. It's not demonstrating, and it's actually shutting down and stopping people from being proactive and looking for solutions. And again, I've got to be very careful. I can't say so many words on treatment, and there's just so much information that's out there that's being censored and not allowing people to learn about it, that it's problematic. And I think that we're going to see some litigation take place in the U.S. Fauci is going to be the fall guy, it looks like, on many of these things. But here in our own province, we have done nothing to disseminate the information on the different trials that have been going on. And the evidence is overwhelming that there is treatments that reduces deaths and sickness for COVID, but yet the government and the media does not allow any of that information out. It's all censored, and it's criminal, and people need to be held accountable on that. But let's just maybe flip up that next screen there, David. But Trudeau has said the government is working on 2 tracks in terms of proof of vaccination for Canadians who want to travel. He said the initial phase will be to have people upload image of proof of vaccination so border agents can verify on the return to Canada. But it's interesting how all of these goalposts are moving. And again, with the Springsteen area, all of a sudden they say, oh, this vaccine isn't a good one. And the doctor says, we're going to start having vaccine shopping. They're telling us, oh, it doesn't matter, get whichever one's available is the one that's is the one that you should get. But there's just so much misinformation out there. It is very frustrating for those people that are concerned, for those that just want to go along to get along. They don't understand the problems. But all of this is divisiveness. This is turning people against each other. It's cranking up the snitch line. And this is not healthy. It's not good for our society. It's not good for our families. All of these things are a problem, and we really do need to address them. So anyways, to circle back on all of this, as your leader and as Wild Rose Independence Party, we are 100% against vaccine passports. We know that they're wrong. We know that they're divisive. And we need to have a government that's actually putting out all the information on treatments that are available, the different test trials that have been going on, the successes, and letting people know about them, because all of this information is being withheld from the public, and it's wrong. And Wild Rose and myself will certainly make sure that this information is out there and how people can be proactive. I just want to talk for a minute too about this idea that we're all responsible for other people's lives and their safety. And in a sense, we absolutely are. You know, we don't drink and drive because we're going to harm other people. But I ask the question that if we're going outside, do I need to put sunscreen on so that my neighbor can be protected? No. You put the sunscreen on for yourself, but perhaps you have a skin condition and you can't put on sunscreen, so you want to wear clothes. Or maybe you're a sun worshiper and you just want to get tanned really well. But it's just not government's job to say what you must do and must not do. It's a personal one. The government's job is to try and to give you the best information, and then you make that decision. It goes back the same thing with mosquito repellent. Do I have to put on repellent in order for you to be protected? Again, I say no, I don't need to. And if you want to wear repellent, go ahead. If I want to sit there and swat mosquitoes and take the risk of getting bitten, that's my choice. But what I continue to find most frustrating are these people who demand that the lockdown stay in place. Well, like, these people are free to stay home. If an individual wants to wear a mask, you know, I love those people that question them. Well, what, isn't your mask working? And this idea that my mask protects you and your mask protects me. No, if you're nervous about that, keep the 6 feet distance. But this has just been an incredible journey. The collateral damage that this has done is going to be generational, in my opinion. And we've certainly traumatized our children to a degree that I just don't know how well they're going to bounce back from this. And again, we have teachers that seem to be pushing already to have lockdowns, and that they get to decide whether or not kids come to school or whether or not they have to be vaccinated. And probably what disturbs me the most is that every year for years we've had a flu vaccine. Back in the old days, you used to have to pay for it. Government decided that no, we want higher participation, and we're just going to give it out free to people who want to take it. And um, I think it worked fairly well for those who wanted to take it. But this idea that we have taken from seniors needing to be protected to now down with our premier wanting the 70% of Albertans who are vaccinated to be 12 years old and higher is just wrong. And we need to continue to fight this and protect our children and their future. And we just can't sit back. But anyways, I just really want to encourage everybody, and we'll start putting some plans together and working with the CAs on looking at the municipal elections. We need to find good people who are going to protect our freedoms, that are going to fight the lockdowns, and not allow government to interfere in our lives the way they have these last 18 months. But with that, let's maybe go to some questions, David, and see what the people are wanting to ask here. See if I can get my other screen up and working here. It's closed on me. Mary, Hi, Paul. Can you please talk about what you need from Albertans to help you get elected and how we can get lawn signs, stickers, etc.? Gosh, for a week I've been going to go onto our website and check on that. We have some swag on the website, but what I'll promise you is that we will get that up and I'll get it on my website on where we can start ordering this swag. But what I need you to do is to one, you've already bought a membership, to contact me, paul@paulhidman.com. Become part of my team and volunteers, and I'm happy to come to little house meetings, to little town halls, and we need to get the word out that there is a government here that's going to protect your individual rights. And most important is to remember to vote on July 12th and 13th, I believe, are the date for the votes. And let's get this behind us and go forward, and have an elected leader that we can travel around the province and be official. But appreciate the question there. From Allison, what about the fact that our elections have been suspended during the emergency? Did I misunderstand what I read regarding elections? Well, excellent question, Allison. What the federal government did was they passed a motion. They never passed legislation or anything else, but they passed a motion. I think it was unanimous that they wouldn't hold an election while there's an emergency in place. And my response to that is tomorrow Trudeau and Jason can say that, oh, the emergency's over, and they could call an election. But it was just a motion, but it is very concerning, how they're going to strategize and use it for their advantage, because that's what the people in power are doing, is looking to say, oh, what can we do to make this work in our favor? How can we retain power? How can we get reelected? But boy, we need to go back to honest elections. We need to have paper ballots that are traceable, that people can look in the ballot box at the start of the day. You can sit there as scrutineers and get to the end of the day and know that this has been a valid vote, and that people have to produce and show their ID. But boy, we've got to get back to the basics, and to have traceable paper ballots, and know that the election is honest and true. But anyways, I just think, like I say, when the federal government wants to call an election, they'll say the emergency is over and we can now have an election. And it's funny how just today it's a disaster and a crisis, and tomorrow, oh, it's okay. Come 1st of July, everything's going to be great here in Alberta. Let's hope it stays great. But thanks for the question. From Beverly, we need Wildrose members running as councillors, or we'll end up with more NDP and Liberal people deciding how we live our lives. Beverly is 100% correct on this. Thanks for the question, Beverly. This is why we need to grow our CAs. And if we have 500 members in a CA, there's going to be a lot of good people in there, and we can start working together and forming a team. One of the biggest problems that people have in municipal elections is there are no teams. Someone decides to run, they talk to friends, family, business workers, and they try to put a small team together. Well, we here at Wildrose Nation are a team, and we need to come together and actually give people support, that they can be excited and say, you know what, I am going to run because there's a group of volunteers that we've been meeting and we're able to run. I also want to answer another question, because Beverly was very astute last time and I didn't understand what she was asking me about Canada Pension Plan. I always talk about the Alberta Pension Plan and what that will do for Albertans, but I fail to mention that those people who have the Canada Pension Plan, you get to keep that. You don't lose that. People can go and travel all over the world or move somewhere when you're retired, and you're entitled to your Canada Pension Plan. And so those people that are worried that we become a sovereign nation, that you're going to lose your pension plan, that's not true. And thanks, Beverly, for pointing that out. And my mistake again for not clarifying that. And there's nothing worse than confusing people and making them nervous. The whole purpose of the Wildrose Independence Party and my leadership is to bring clarity, to bring hope, and to bring that understanding that, wow, this is doable and this is for our benefit, and to remove that fear of taking a new step and wondering, is this going to work out in our best interest? But we'll take those steps cautiously and carefully, and make sure people realize that these are beneficial and that there's nothing at risk here. Thanks, Beverly, and sorry for the confusion last time on the Canada Pension Plan, but thanks for pointing that out. How can we prevent election fraud? Well, I think I kind of talked about that, Paul. Number one is that we need to have traceable paper ballots. This idea of mail-in electronics, not a good idea. They're the easiest to manipulate, and there is no way of proving. I mean, with blockchain technology, people say that we can increase our electronic voting, but for me, we need to have our poll stations. We need to have our volunteer workers. We need to have our scrutineers. And you get there in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. There's the ballot box. The scrutineers look in. Everybody looks in. It's empty. And then you're able to sit there, not 100 yards away. The scrutineers get to sit within close enough distance that they hear the person's name. Oh, this is Paul Hinman coming in. They look on their list. They mark it off. And that we have that ability to have our own team watching and monitoring, and then at the count at the end that they're brought out and we have it. But it's called traceable paper ballots. That's how we prevent election fraud. And I hope that answers your question, Paul, but thanks for it. More questions, David?
I think we're out of questions at the moment.
Really? Well, want to thank everybody then. What we're needing to do is to get organized in our CAs, buy a membership, talk to your friends, neighbors, co-workers, and we need to grow the Wild Rose Nation. We need people to start donating. We need to be able to start buying that swag and having it available for people. People are wanting lawn signs and brochures, and there's been some purchased, but we're certainly wanting to help members to grow the party, and we'll do that. We have a question. You going to put it up there, or just not sure if you actually have a question?
There is a question coming from Rob Wright. He says he has a question, and we're waiting for him to post the question, Rob.
Okay,
Please post your question.
But let's see. Is there ability to work with the PPC at the Fed level too? I've been asked about that before, and I've been criticized on picking which federal party you want, and I've said that there's kind of two options. I don't hold any animosity towards the other Canadians, and when I look at federal parties, there's only one party, Maxime Bernier's People Party of Canada, that's providing solutions and getting rid of the socialism that's just taken over our society on the east. We have the Maverick Party also provincially, and they're going to oppose anything that isn't in Alberta's interest. And I think both of those are options for people depending on what it is that they're wanting. But like I say, I want Canada to be healthy and strong. I just don't want to be part of it anymore. But yes, we can work with other ones, and I would encourage people that we need to be engaged on all three levels. Right now, we need to be focused on municipal elections. We need to find candidates that are going to be of sound mind and realize how important it is to have a constitution that protects our life, our liberty, and our property, and to get these people elected at the municipal level. Provincially, Wild Rose Nation, Wild Rose Party, Wild Rose Independence Party. We need to win the next election. I'm very nervous on how fast governments are accelerating their spending and stripping away our freedoms and telling us what we can and can't do. And then federally, to me, we have two options here in the West: the People's Party of Canada and the Maverick Party. And I encourage you to get involved, and those that meet what you think is the best solution to support and work with those individuals. But we need to be very aware of all three levels and be participating, because we can and will make a difference as well as a Wild Rose Nation. But thanks for that question. how do we consolidate all the separatist parties in Alberta in time to get ready for the next election? Well, first of all, I just don't see the need to consolidate all of them. What we need is people out on the road answering Alberta's questions and realizing that the only solution is a sovereign nation. It's interesting, and I've read these reports before, but 50% of people, I'm not one of them, I don't think any of you are one of those, haven't decided how they're going to vote until they get to the voting poll and as they're going in. And that's why there's people always there, and signs as close as you can to the voting stalls outside the buildings, is because people are being influenced right up to the very last minute. And I find that amazing. But bottom line, we need to get out there and talk to people, have our signs up, let people see them, and make sure that people know who and why they're voting before they go to the polls, because too often people haven't engaged, and it's just a bad situation when they're almost flipping a coin when they go in there. And again, I want to emphasize that so many people say, oh, we can't split the vote. My point is that we can't afford to waste our vote this time. We need to vote for something that we can believe in and something that's going to work for us, and not the best of the worst or the least of two evils. Why would we vote for evil? Why would we vote for the same? We need to stand up to Ottawa. We need to protect our interests here, our businesses, our families. And again, that's another, just a complete attack on the families and what they're doing, in different jurisdictions, enticing kids, from 12 years up to get vaccinated without parents even knowing this. We absolutely need to have parental rights. We need to know what's happening in the schools, and these are all things that myself and the Wild Rose Independence Party will stand for. But appreciate the question. I guess I should go back and kind of finish. I'm going to finish that because I didn't really answer, saying that we need to unite. When we're 2 or 3 months out, like to me, it's already, there's no question. We're at 20% in the polls across Alberta, 30% in rural Alberta. And people are going to go and vote in what they believe in. They're not going to go and vote for a fringe party that isn't even on the polls in there. But yet all these little other groups that are trying to work and have their own little, what would I say, specialty thing that they think is so important, whether it's being a canton or something else, is to bring people to the awareness that we need to become a sovereign nation. But I have full confidence that when we're 3 months out, let alone 3 weeks out, let alone 3 days out, people will know and see that the Wild Rose Party is the party to vote. And again, you bring these people in, and we're already struggling with internal fighting and people not following our bylaws. And why do we want to bring those people in who have a different view? Perhaps they want to be the 51st state or whatever else it is, and just let these groups work, and the cream will rise to the top, and then we will be successful in 2023. But appreciate the question because it's often asked.
Okay, this next comment here, I would like to say something about it. This is about a store. And I just want to let people know that I'm part of the communications committee for the party, and we are definitely working on a store right now, and it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, really appreciate that, Paul. And it's an area where we've struggled a little bit, but we're making good progress. And we need to get this all of this swag and lawn signs available for members. And I hope within the next 2 weeks we will start to have an online store and an area where you can go and get brochures, or if you want to order a lawn sign, whatever it is that you're wanting, that we hope to get it up and running here quickly. And to help you in helping us get the message out. But excellent question, and we'll work hard to get that to fruition here quickly. What will we do to deal with the vax passports outside of Alberta? How can we travel when the rest of the world needs a passport? Well, excellent question, Dennis. And the question is, when a new fad sweeps across the land, it often comes fast and it leaves fast. And there's a lot of problems with these vaccine passports. But anybody who thinks, and I have many friends and even family members who have gone and got vaccinated because they want to travel the second that they think the borders are open. But as we've all seen when it comes to COVID, is that the goalposts never remain where they're set up. And when you get there, they're changed. There's no, what would I say, international agreement or anything else on these. And I truly believe that if the freedom fighters, the patriots can continue to fight these, is that you'll see all of these ideas slowly diminish and fall away. But the bottom line is there's nothing that we can do as an Albertan if the U.S. demands a passport, or if Asia or Europe, people will have to comply to the areas that they want to go to, and that'll be life. But the point is that you'll be free to move and to work and be mobile here in Alberta, and we will not be allowing people to being divisive and allowing people into their store or not, or whatnot, by saying that we want proof of vaccination. Next thing is as we saw in the States, that that we don't recognize that vaccine. And it's just so disappointing how little science is behind any of this. This is all political. This is a virtue signaling. They're posturing, trying to act like they're doing great works for us and to protect us, when in fact they're causing more harm than good. And we need to stand and fight these things. Do you think that because of the Open for Summer campaign, people will be disinterested in politics going forward? Well, Marilyn, um, it's always a challenge when it comes to politics and the number of people that will participate and engage. And like I say, when I was reading the numbers for you for municipal elections, how low it is. I think that's going to be our job of advertising, getting the message out, talking to our friends. Summer is always a challenge when it comes to politics, but if we put on some rocking good barbecues and different events, I think that will attract some people. But you are correct. People don't want to think and talk politics when they can be at the lake, or when they can be out at the golf course, or doing something else. But we just need to remind them that fall is coming, elections coming, and our current governments have failed us. And if we want that failure to continue, all we have to do is nothing. If we want to change it, we need to roll up our sleeves and go to work and start fighting for our freedoms. And I hope that we can convince people to do that. Also, do you think that rural ridings are where Wild Rose will likely have the most chance of winning seats? Rob, there's no question, if you've been watching the polling, our strength is in rural Alberta. Bottom line, rural people think different than many city folks. They're more independent. They're more, well, I want to say, personally responsible for their health, for their safety, for their well-being. And again, they're not looking to government for the handouts that people in cities are often bribed with. And so rural Alberta is the low-hanging fruit. That's what we're going to focus on, and work hard there. And then the spillovers will be into Calgary and into the bigger centers. But rural Alberta, that's the fertile ground for freedom, and that's where we're working hard, and where most people are inviting us to, to town halls, and to, I guess I call them underground town hall. I went to another marvelous one on Saturday. 75 people showed up. But people are looking for answers, and we're trying to do our best to provide those answers and hope for them. So we getting the answers done, David, or we're from Dennis? Can you talk about the question about being landlocked? Okay, well, thanks, Dennis. As a province, we're landlocked, even though our constitution says that we have the constitutional right to export our products to Tidewater and through interprovincial boundaries. but our federal government has failed to protect our interests. And international law states that you can't prohibit a landlocked country from getting to tidewater for trade, both for bringing in goods and services and for exporting them. And we would have a lot more clout as a sovereign nation, as we have zero clout as a province. We're just one voice out of many, and they can vote and say no. But the other nice thing about being a sovereign nation, if they want to shut us down, well, then we can shut them down. The Vancouver port, I believe, brings in 5 times more goods than all the other ports in Canada, and is a major pipeline to Eastern Canada for the products that they buy from Asia. If we can't export our oil and gas out, there's no way that they're going to be bringing their produce through our province, and not be paying a high price for it, if at all being able to come through. But it gives us clout as a sovereign nation, and it's a big reason why we need to become a sovereign nation, so that we can actually sell our products to the world and get them out there. Because right now we're being boxed in by both provincial and federal governments outside our jurisdiction. But thanks for the question. What conversation have you have been initiated with First Nations in Alberta about their role in separation? Are they happy to stay in Canada, or have they had enough too? Well, when I look and I've talked to a few Indigenous people, they're not at all happy. The Indian Act is a draconian act. It's it oppresses the First Nations people and what they can and can't do. And basically, if we think that we have a rough go with our provincial and federal government, it pales in comparison to the way our Indigenous people are treated. Once again, we'll take the steps to give Albertans the confidence that we can be sovereign, and the Indigenous people will be able to look at that, and it'll be their choice. If they want to hold back a couple of years to see how we do, I don't have a problem with that. If they're as fed up as we are and want to be part of the movement, that's exciting. I had a few appointments to meet with some different chiefs, but because of their COVID rules, they've all backed off, and I understand that, because the Indigenous people have been hit hard in their communities, and they've imposed some pretty strict rules on themselves. But I believe here in the next couple of months coming forward, I have an opportunity to meet with a few band chiefs and to hear their concerns and their ideas. And I'm looking forward to consulting with them and seeing what's on their minds and what they think are the possibilities of a sovereign nation. But I just can't believe that the way they are treated. They should want to be free and owners of their own land, just like every Albertan wants to be. Thanks for the question. Well, I just want to wrap it up there. Keep wanting to try and shorten these sessions up and to have more and keep them shorter. But bottom line is that we're on a roll. Albertans are hurting, and the only solution I see out there is the Wild Rose Independence Party of Alberta. I ask for your support in my leadership campaign. I'll be going around here, and again, we'll have to report in June, but if you can donate, I'd sure appreciate it. The costs are going up. I just can't believe the price of fuel, cost of hotels. We keep our costs down, but we sure appreciate the donations and could use a few more to pay off and to continue putting out some more information and looking after the website and the other products that we're trying to do. But this is exciting times, and the fact that they're tough times, they're hurtful times. But the nice thing is that that's when we go to the political doctors and say we need to do better. And when you go to our website and you read our policies and our principles, most people just smile, and it gets them excited. Like, you're really going to do this? We are going to do this. We will do this. And it's exciting for me to see down the road where we can be and what we'll be able to do for Albertans. We're very fortunate here with hardworking, industrious people that are honest. We have the resources, we have the education facilities here, we have the industry here, we have the land, the water, And the sky's the limit, in my opinion. The only thing that's holding us back is the governments around us and over us. And we need to realize that this is not in our best interest. Jason Kenney has failed Albertans in just a miserable way. Rachel Notley certainly put us on the road to destruction with all of her policies and her spending. And these people with this idea of big government, big spending, and big taxes is going to solve it. Sorry, wrong direction for a long time. We need to reduce the size of government. We need to increase our freedoms. We need to increase our personal responsibilities. We need to reduce our taxes. We need to fix our healthcare system where people can actually get in and get treated. And these are all doable, but you actually need a government and people that believe in that and not the status quo. Rachel had her opportunity. And she failed miserably. She didn't meet the needs of Albertans. Jason, I just still cannot believe where we are, how much money we've spent, and to have nothing to show for it. So I ask you to go to our websites, wildrose.party, paulhinman.com, get engaged. I'd love to see you on the road here in the next couple of months. So contact us and let's get the CAs built and let's have just a rocking good time this summer of meeting face to face and talking about these problems and selling memberships and winning some very important municipal elections. But thank you. God bless each and every one of you. And we will continue our fight as freedom fighters and Alberta patriots. But take care until next time. Good night.